Hello, everyone. Hello, Hardcore Nation. Y'all are having a great evening. We're hearing that wonderful light song, and that means you are tuned into the one and only RBLR Bulls. Appreciate you all for joining us tonight or on demand whenever y'all are tuning in to listen to us. I am here with my two wonderful co-hosts, Mr. Jonathan Shields and Mr. Musab Tariq. Jonathan, how you doing tonight, my man? You having a good holiday season?
Great holiday season. I hope everyone listening is having a great holiday season. And me and Musab were talking about it when I first got in. It's the first time we've all been together in a minute.
I
Just
know.
because of conflicting schedules and whatnot. So it's good to see your guys' wonderful faces, and it's good to be back together again. And even though it's quote unquote the off season, there's still been I guess not the off season for every sport we're going to talk about, but there's still been a plethora of news circulating in the USF world.
Yeah, it's the off season for football, right?
Yeah.
And yet there's still a bunch of stuff to talk about with football, and we'll get into it because it's a lot. There's a lot to talk about. But yeah, happy to have the three amigos back. The big three, if you will. Yeah, I mean the holiday schedule, man, it's crazy. You got Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's Eve, and it's just all kind of it really piles on. So yeah, it's good that our schedule is kind of lined up the way they did. And of course, Mr. Musab Tariq, we just did the Buck show, and now we're doing the Bulls show as well. How you doing, Mr. Tariq? You still having a good holiday season? Our Buck show didn't ruin that, did it?
No, not at all, man. I'm always jolly about Tampa-based sports, and I was just gonna say, the beauty about RBLR Bulls is that there's actually seriously always something going on. It's one thing to cover like the off season for your favorite MLB or NFL team, but there is no season of the interns when it comes to USF Athletic because there's always some kind of real juice, whether it's basketball, football, volleyball, soccer. It goes on and on. So that's what makes me so excited about this podcast.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And with USF, there's so many different sports that even if maybe the football or the basketball, one of the many sports is struggling, there's usually at least one that's doing pretty well. There's at least something exciting to talk about with USF athletics. And unfortunately, we cannot start with something exciting when it comes to USF athletics because the transfer portal opened a week or two ago, and it has been a flood of names and people just, jumping ship. And unfortunately, the biggest name is Byron Brown. He is unfortunately not entering the transfer portal. It's official. I mean, we kind of all saw this coming, but at the same time, it's still kind of a bummer to see. And in kind of unrelated, but also incredibly related news, Deuce Knight, quarterback for the Auburn Tigers, also entering the transfer portal. Read into that as you may. So what are your thoughts, Jonathan? Do you think he ends up at Auburn? Is that kind of the writing on the wall you see? Or do you maybe think, no, Golesh is going to choose whoever he wants? Maybe it is Byron Brown, but maybe it is someone else. Where do you think he ends up after he's now in the transfer portal?
That's a great question because his options, I'm sure there'll be options, but this is the most loaded I've ever seen a transfer portal for quarterbacks. I mean, it is stacked. I mean, Sam Levitt at Arizona State's the number one player in the portal. Obviously, you have Lagway at Florida. You just go down the list. Even the UNLV quarterback, who's actually from the Same Bay area, he just hit the portal, and he had very similar numbers to what Byron Brown had.
And the James Madison quarterback.
James Madison. That's not when we're not even talking about some of the other high-profile guys from high major universities that have hit the portal. I mean, it's just a huge market. So I don't know where Brown falls in with them. If I'm Alex Golesh, I mean, I don't see why he wouldn't end up there. But we talked about this, Carter, last time I was on. If I was Byron Brown, I would go to wherever throws me the most money. This is no shot to Byron Brown. He is not going to be this prolific NFL quarterback that gets one of those $50 million a year contracts. Granted, there's only like 10 of those in the entire world out of 8 billion people, but that's no diss on Byron Brown. I don't think there's any quarterback in the portal really that's going to be that type of player. So if I hit the portal and all of a sudden Tennessee offers, hey, Byron Brown, here's $4 million to go be our starting quarterback. I'd be like, okay, Coach Golesh, you guys are offering me $2.5 million. I'm going to go to Tennessee for $4 million and be the quarterback. So, if all NIL is similar, I assume he chooses Auburn because he had great success with Golesh, obviously at USF against some big time competition. But it's a sad part of where we are in the sports world right now. Like now, as fans, I'm seeing notification on my Twitter of people making edits for a freshman re-signing with the team back with a sophomore.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? Really? Like, yeah, but it's the world we live in now, and I'm the last person going to give Byron Brown any sort of hate on capitalizing on what will be a lot of money for him, hopefully. And I don't think he's going to get $4 million because I don't know if really anyone can get that type of number. Carson Beck got $3 million when he went to Miami last year. I'm sure some numbers maybe for a Levitt or a Lagway might be up that way, but yeah, I mean, he's going to make a ton of money, deservedly so. Maximize your value. Well, he will never be as hot of a commodity as he is right now. So, I again, if you put a gun in my head, I would say Auburn, just because both. I'm pretty sure Robbie Ashford also transferred out of there, the guy that started at the end for them. So, they'll need one, maybe even two quarterbacks. So, yeah, gun in my head, I'd say he goes there. But don't be surprised if he ends up at, I don't know. A school has to fit his system. He's not some gifted thrower of the football. So
Right.
that's cool. A system like Golish's really helps him. And actually, a school like Florida now with their new offensive coordinator kind of fits into Byron Brown's
Yeah, I was about to say. Yeah.
expertise. I don't think he'll end up there, but expect a school like that highly utilizes the legs of the quarterback as well.
Yeah, 100%, man. I mean, there's so many big time schools that are quarterback needy. I mean, you mentioned at UF and obviously
LSU with Lane Kiffin's another one. They
LSU,
they
yeah.
run their quarterbacks. Yeah.
I was literally the next school out of my mouth. You're reading my mind here. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so many schools that need quarterbacks. It's obviously the most highly coveted position, really, in sports, but especially in football. So yeah, there's going to be a large market for them, and unfortunately, USF not going to be able to compete with those big time schools financially. And like you said, you want him to capitalize on his financial status and be able to cash out because like you said, there's not really. I don't know how much there is beyond this in
Yeah.
terms of employment for football purposes. So yeah, good for him. Wish him the best of luck. As long as he's not playing USF, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see how his transfer portal recruitment goes. Musab, what are your thoughts on Byron Brown's legacy at USF? Like, I mean, like I said, I was bummed to see him go, but at the same time, like I don't harbor any. Like it's not a dang him. Like why is he doing this? Like no, it makes perfect sense why he's doing this. So what are your thoughts on his legacy at USF?
No, man, he left a great legacy, and I mean everything about this whole transfer portal situation is just crazy. I mean, but seeing him enter the transfer portal was not that crazy to me. I saw this coming. I mean, look, guys, he deserves major exposure and a place where his talent, really does get recognized the right way. And unfortunately, we had that chance a little bit with USF, but we, shot ourselves in the foot. So there's that. So I do want to say, I mean, yeah, this Deuce Knight news coming out, I think is definitely now making me, lean a lot more on Auburn. I mean, it's just, your coach is already, there, or, his Golish is going to have his guy, you know what I'm saying? So
Right.
that does help, but I don't know though. I wouldn't be surprised though. I mean, if he were to just go where the money is, I have
Yeah.
to say that's another big factor is where the money is obviously where he's going to get exposure because it's only the big dogs who are going to be able to afford him. You know what I'm saying? Right. So this is one of those kind of, he's going to be a hot guy on the market for sure. And I do want to know though is, based on, what y'all know about, kind of conference, play and all that, just because personally, I've actually heard it myself from some people is, does he fit into the SEC? Just because, I feel like, when you think an SEC, that's probably, you're thinking of the, the top dog, you know what I'm saying? And, going against SEC defense. So,
Yeah.
I've just heard that from, some people, seen some people kind of saying, just if anything, Auburn or LSU, but, even names like, Arizona State, Clemson.
Yeah. Penn State is going to be looking for.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some interesting schools out there. And that's a valid point because I think Byron Brown, this is going to come off as hate, so I do apologize to Byron Brown, but he's playing against Charlotte, Rice, UAB, American Conference teams, very different athletically than the bigger schools, SEC, Big Ten, and whatnot. And while he showed that he can be very competitive in that UF game, even last year against Alabama, they showed that they can be he can be in that mix, but I'll be curious to see over a whole season, over a larger sample size, how much of that production, because his production at USF was insane. Like it was otherworldly, all-time great stuff in terms of college football, just pure stats. But he's doing it in the American. So, there's levels to it. And I'll be curious to see how that kind of translates to the bigger programs. Jonathan, I don't know if you agree, maybe you have a little bit of pushback, but what are your thoughts on his ability to make that transition to a bigger time school or program?
Yeah, it's always the biggest question, but I guarantee you he's not hopping the portal to transfer to Memphis. Like he's going to
Right. Yeah.
one of those
sure.
type of schools. But
Right.
it's fair to bring up because he's not gonna be able to run like he does at SEC schools.
Exactly.
The athletes are just different, and that's no disrespect to the American. It's American for a reason. The schools that are in the American recruit at a lower level, and there's the reason why when teams, players, and coaches at these mid-major, quote unquote, non-power 4 schools, they always leave to take the SEC jobs. And I hate it. Like I wish we could have 4 years of built up production at a school like USF, Memphis, Tulane, all these really good programs outside the Power 4. But in reality, it's just not realistic. But I mean, Byron Brown is not a great thrower of the football. Like he will make throws. Like I don't want to. Again, I don't. This is not really coming off as hate. It's just when you put on his tape, you're not just like, oh yeah, that guy's an NFL thrower of the football.
Right.
But that's not his biggest strength, I would say, is using his legs. But especially the SEC just moved to 9 conference games. Like that is legit every single week, and they'll have one bye week. Like when I saw the schedules come out for some of these, there's schools like Florida, Alabama, Georgia that play like 9 straight weeks without a bye, and 7 of them are against Auburn, Oklahoma, LSU. It's just a murderer's row. So this is not a hate on Byron Brown. This is any quarterback that's a running quarterback is not going to be able to sustain as well. So it's going to be really interesting to see where he goes. I'll be surprised if he doesn't go to Auburn. Not surprised if he doesn't go where he ends up if he doesn't go to Auburn, because what other schools? Because again, I think you need a specific system that kind of fits around him that utilizes a quarterback run. If you put Byron Brown in a pro style offense and said, "Hey, air it out 35 times a game," I mean, that's just not his skill set. So it's going to be really interesting. I'd be surprised if he didn't go to a school in the SEC or Big Ten and then add in Texas Tech, who also recruits at that level as the other 2 conferences. So, yeah, I mean, I don't have a perfect answer for you, but I would anticipate like maybe a slight step back. Yeah, I don't have his stats in front of me, but like you said, he had some otherworldly games against some of the teams. It makes you think that he is that high major talent, but I always refer back to the Gators. DJ Lago was a high major talent, and there's games where he'd throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, but there'd be other games where he threw for 95 yards and 3 interceptions.
Yeah, exactly.
Where is his mid ground going to be once he gets to that level? And I have no doubt it's going to be high because first of all, he's a great human being, and second of all, he's a great player. So I have no doubt that it'll end up being high wherever he may go.
Yeah, man, it's just a wait and see thing, and we'll keep talking about it throughout the offseason until he makes that decision. Because hey, Byron Brown, one of the more impactful players in USF football history. So watching his career, finish out wherever he ends up in college football, that's going to be of note for USF. But in other news in the football world, Tim Beck, former Coastal Carolina head coach, brought in as the offensive coordinator for USF. Bit of a mixed bag. He's had some highs, he's had some lows, including being let go by Coastal Carolina. There was a reason that he was available, and it was because they weren't happy with his success level in terms of their program. They had gone 6-6 in consecutive seasons, so they weren't happy about it. Being in the Sun Belt Conference, going 6-6. Maybe not what you're looking for, especially for Coastal Carolina, who's probably in the higher level of the Sun Belt in terms of like the Sun Belt Conference hierarchy. And they just weren't getting it done under him. So we'll see if, the step back to an offensive coordinator role works out for him. Mike Hartline, a little bit of in the family type of stuff. He is the brother of Coach Hartline, the head coach. So it'll be interesting. He's joining as the quarterbacks coach. He also worked with Tim Beck previously, so there's a little bit of experience there. We saw any other hirings that you wanted to discuss or bring up, or any that caught your eye from this? Because they're having to fill out this staff, and it's been kind of fast and furious with the news. So any other staff?
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, they've been, they kind of came out real hot with all the new, kind of coaches, or even just returning coaches. But no, I'm happy. Yeah, with with Beck and Hartline, I think it's just more familiarity than some kind of big fancy signing or some risky one. I mean, you have to give respect to Tim Beck, even though he did get fired. I mean, he's got the experience. His resume still looks good. I mean, he's worked with some real good guys like Devin Leary, Sam Ellinger. So, and then Hartline, you can sneak in a little bit of the family ties. But again,
Right.
he's worked with Tim Beck before, worked with Big Bro before. So, I mean, he's proven success too. He actually had a very successful career. It was in D2, but he's also worked with, I mean, the best of the best quarterbacks at Ohio State. So he knows what it takes to be an elite quarterback. Now, the other ones that kind of caught my eye is seeing Terry Braden and Danny Verpele, who were hired. So Danny Verpele is hired as a safeties coach. Does bring that deep defensive knowledge. Does have a USF background,
The
and
Bulls.
he has, yes sir, go Bulls. And yeah, I mean he has proven success in developing players and even having strong defensive units. With him currently or this past season at Army. So he was there for a couple of years, and they shown a lot of signs of improvement. I mean, I think they had actually one of the best kind of defenses, I think, at least in the conference as well. So he's got a good resume. It's time just for just to come back home, bring it back to the Bay. So now D-line coach Terry Braden, he's got NFL experience. He knows what the champ level standards are. I mean, he's coached all kinds of amazing defensive linemen. He's worked with Chris Jones, Kansas City Chiefs. So it's kind of nice to see a guy from the NFL kind of maybe come down to the college football ranks and join kind of an up and coming team. It's one thing for him, a big dog to go from Kansas City to like Bama or something, but I think this is more of a valuable gem, some kind of guy you may not think about at first, but hopefully we see some success in our defensive line and our safeties. So it's also going to be dependent on this transfer portal too, man.
Yeah.
But hey, we got Tim Beck and Brian Hartline, both amazing recruiters.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
that does help.
Yeah, I mean, you play if you're a big college football 26 fan like I am, they've got the elite recruiter badge. I think that's probably fair for Hartline. He's got the receiver, that little coaching tree, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I have complete confidence that these guys can bring in a lot of guys to replace the transfers that are happening, because it's not just Byron Brown. It's Travion Mitchell, it's receiver Chaz Nimrod, one of the stars from this past season. Alvin Isaac, hopefully was going to be the running back of the future for USF, but unfortunately, he's looking elsewhere. Fred Gaskin, safety, Jarvis Lee, corner. So, this is happening everywhere. UF obviously has a lot of guys in the portal too, like constantly just across the board in college football. This is happening. So it's just a shuffle, it's going to happen, and USF is going to bring in guys to replace these players. So, and no doubt these guys are great at recruiting. So it'll get done. But shifting gears a little bit, I wanted to focus on the men's basketball team because they took home a W against UMBC, 94-69, still undefeated at home. Really doing a great job there. Isaiah Nelson had a double-double, 20 points, 11 rebounds, his 8th of the season. Really, really outstanding stuff from the big man. He was an American Conference honorable mention for Player of the Week. He's just doing a great job. I think he's been at USF for a few years now. He was one of the mainstays that stuck around even through the coaching change. And so that was really fun. Pinion's also back on fire. Like when he's cooking, man, he had a career high of 7 3-pointers, which I was kind of surprised when I saw that, because frankly, it feels like whenever I watch Pinion play, he's just launching it from deep and hitting everything. He's just really fun to watch. But yeah, Jonathan, any other key performances from this past week that you looked at for USF that you want to highlight or anything like that?
Yeah, and I mean, in the specific game, you hit on the majority of it. I want to talk about the team as a whole because I've been really impressed with the last. What day is it now? The 26th, with the last like 3 weeks of play from the USF basketball team. I mean, that win over Utah State is going to age in a great way. Utah State's a really good team.
Yeah.
And we talked about how they played. They played really well against Alabama. Charleston's always a really good mid-major as well. Outside of really, the George Washington loss. I mean, again, they're a good mid-major team. That's one you'd probably like back. My expectation is pretty high for them in the American. Obviously, Memphis is kind of the class of the league, but Memphis is a little bit down this year. Like if USF finished outside of the top 4, in the American, I would consider a little bit of a disappointment. I mean, you would have a little bit more knowledge on that than me. But it's great to beat UMBC. They were the first team to ever beat a 1 seed as a 16. So it's always cool. I mean, to see that name kind of pop back up. But
nice little piece of trivia.
Yeah, exactly. But that win didn't move me in any way. But more of their play since the loss, kind of to Oklahoma State in that kind of realm. I mean, I thought they've really played well. And we talked about last week, Car. I mean, LeBaron Filan's literally an NBA player just playing in college right now. So no shame in obviously the Bama game. But again, the expectation should be, I don't know how the American is set up, but in all of like the Big Ten, SEC, the top 4 seeds get that double bye in the conference tournament. That's my expectation for USF basketball wise. I mean, they have the talent. They have the dudes. I mean, you already mentioned it's the 8th double-double, I'm pretty sure, for of the year already. I mean, what's their record? They've only played like 13, 14 games. Like, that's pretty big. So, in the world of college, if you think the college football portal is crazy, college basketball portal is even crazy. I mean, you can build a new roster overnight. And now, I mean, we got guys, that's a whole different conversation. We got guys that were drafted in the 31st pick coming back into college and playing this year.
Yeah, I knew this was going to
be. But all that to say, very impressive where USF is basketball-wise right now. And honestly, better than I thought they would be after around the first 4 games of the year when things, I wouldn't say like grim, but didn't play up to, I think, what their standard was.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm really excited to see the season play out, especially like you said, now that we're getting into the conference play a little bit as the new year starts. That's going to be huge. Obviously, I mean, it's what they're kind of it's what they've been kind of playing for. It's what they've had in mind. So we'll see. And it was a really good game against UMBC, and like you said, they've been playing really well, really over the past month. Obviously, the losses to George Washington, Oklahoma State, and Alabama were disappointing, but Alabama and Oklahoma State, like, that's going to happen. And George Washington, you just kind of wash your hands of it. Losses like that are going to happen sometimes. But Musab, were there any other guys you wanted to highlight, and who they got coming up next? I think they play on Monday. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yeah. I just wanted to kind of, just give a shout out to, Devin Hade, bench player. Just nice to see, a bench player make impact. He had 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 9 points. But, Josh Omajafo as well contributed to this, Nelson Pinion show as well. So, again, another shout out to, transfer Wes Ennis. I know he, didn't have some. In fact, I don't think he even played this past game. But I have to say, guys, it is nice to know that, we have a handful of guys who, step up when needed be. So there's usually, 2 or 3 guys who are always, looking good out there. And I have to say, even though, that Alabama loss was, pretty tough, it was a good fight for the most part. So they got a nasty backcourt, with Phelan and Holloway. So, you got to give them that. So, but yeah, Carter, as you mentioned, man, this is what matters now is, hey, listen, we played some dogs, we won as well. Now it's time to, lock in on the, American Conference opponents. And before we can do that, though, we got a interesting matchup by an institution I, to be honest, wasn't very well knowledgeable about or didn't even know existed. Georgia College and State. We'll be playing them, this upcoming Monday, December 29th. So I expect backups to be playing in the second half. Feel like this is kind of a post-Christmas tune-up game. Coach is just like, hey, guys, I know y'all probably were, grubbing real good with the family and all that. It's time to get, back in shape. Right. Here's a little JV warm-up game. So unfortunately, I don't want to say, I want to, try to be respectful to Georgia State in college, but the opponent level and everything about this matchup just screams like South Carolina women's basketball team versus USF's basketball team.
They're a D2 team. I don't even think it counts toward their actual record. So every year when I was playing, we would play NIU. So like Benedictine plays NIU. And I think maybe it doesn't count for the D2 or D3 team's record, but it counts for the D1 team's record. But it's not uncommon. It's pretty uncommon to see it this late. You normally see it early in the season. They use it as like a preseason. You hear all these like secret scrimmage games. It's not preseason, but they use in that elk. So, for example, the last 2 years, the college I went to played Northern NIU, who's obviously a mid-major team, a little bit worse in a worse conference than USF. But yeah, it's not uncommon, but it's pretty. I won't say uncommon. It's unusual for it to be this late in the season. But like Mustafa said, it's a nice tune-up because man, it was always rough getting back into shape after Christmas break. You're gone for 4 or 5 days, and then boom, you practice. We would always come back today, the day after Christmas, and then start practicing. So it's tough to flip that switch. So it is nice to have, I won't say a layup, because now, I mean, the talent across these divisions is pretty unbelievable, just the amount of talent there is. But the size and athleticism is where it kind of varies. So, you never discredit the opponent, like you said, Musa. But yeah, I mean, this should be a nice little tune-up before the next. After this, you get into American Conference play right after this. So it really heats up.
So, yeah, I was just going to say, I think I saw on the schedule, for some reason, I think it was listed that this game, I think in bold, they had it in small little wording, exhibition game. So, I think it's just, a little something. Who knows, at the end of the day, logistics and all that, maybe it didn't work. Yeah, maybe it was kind of a last minute, kind of schedule change or something, You'd rather get the boys, some game than no game. So there's always going to be something to learn. It's not like, and this is the perfect game to kind of, start picking on the backup, saying, hey, dude, look, you're a backup. You're going to play a lot of this game. And then, if you look bad, well, hey, man, you got to step it up, dude, because you're looking, you didn't do much against a D2 team. So that's what I'm hoping for, is just, to see our backups, have a great game. And if they don't, then, why that is. But yeah.
Yeah, man, a lot to look forward to for the men's basketball team after that little exhibition / tune-up game against Georgia State in college, or Georgia College and State. I'm sorry, I'm mixing up their name. But yeah, it should be a really fun conference schedule. They've got a lot of really solid teams to play against in the American. Like they're a mid-major school, like Jonathan said, but at the same time, the American Conference, they can mix it up a little bit. They can get a little bit chippy. So yeah, USF should have their work cut out for them, but at the same time, there's some high expectations for this team. And there's some high expectations for the women's basketball team, who have been playing pretty darn well. They obviously had their struggles against South Carolina, but who doesn't? So they also beat Duke. So that was a real highlight. And now recently they took a W against Navy. They had some really excellent performances, specifically from Carla Brito, a double-double, 21 point, 14 rebound performance, and Stephanie Ingram, who had 18 points and 10 assists. Katie Davidson had 18 points, so she was outstanding as well. Musab, any other key performances from this past week against Navy that you wanted to shout out before we?
Yeah, man, shout out Lore and Putu with 11 rebounds. I think it's just, I remember I was, reading up about the game as well, is that, almost every single game there's at least, 3 to 4 players, who always, step up and, rack up either a double-double or almost a double-double, kind of performance. So, we're seeing that. This time it was, the, Katie Davidson, Carla Brito, Stephanie Ingram show. Carla Brito, kind of coming out of nowhere. I didn't, she wasn't, some kind of star player in the beginning of the season. We didn't see her name much, but, balled out, with 21 points or so. So, that was real nice to see. Yeah, exactly. So real nice to see, some new names, before we head on over to, facing our American Conference opponent. So, yeah, man.
Yeah, speaking of, they got a game Tuesday against Rice. They are not like the men's basketball team. They are getting started a little bit earlier. And Jonathan, like you always say, you don't want to lose to food, but at the same time, Rice women's basketball team, not the football team. Very different vibes, very different story. They're 10-3. They have some pretty decent players. Musab, I'll kick this to you. Are there any Owls that you maybe want to watch out for going into this matchup Tuesday?
Yes, Owls to watch out for 3. First of all, we're going to start off with Dominique Ennis. She's a guard. She's their top scorer with 12 points per game. She is the Rice 3-point record holder. She's got the Rice 3-point record as well. So just long story short, I mean, she's a damn good shooter. When she gets hot, she gets real hot. So definitely someone to look out for. On top of that, probably say Haley Adams. She's a guard. Another, big contributor. She, leads the team with, 10.7 rebounds, 3.4 assists, kind of a, triple-double threat, runs the floor as well. So definitely those are the 2 kind of, big names I'm looking at. And then on the other hand, We're looking at, I was gonna say big man, big woman, Shelby Hayes at center. She's shooting right now 50% from the field goal percentage, racking up about 11 points per game. So right there with Dominique Ennis. But one thing that kind of caught my eye was she's physical on the inside. I watched a little bit of tape, but on top of that, I looking up at her stats, she's 81 percent from the free throw. So I just feel like that's always a weapon for a big man or a big woman to have, because you're thinking, okay, well, generally they're not always your best free throw shooters. So we start getting aggressive with her and stuff like that, and fouling her. I mean, that doesn't mean we're safe from a couple of points. I mean, chances are she's going to be knocking each of those free throws down. So definitely just some names to look out for. And if I may say, they are 10-3, and record wise they look better. And as of right now, yeah, they are first in the American Conference, but their schedule has been easier than USF's. Of course, USF has had a pretty hard schedule, I have to say. Yeah. I'm gonna actually look it up after this, but I'm gonna look at if there is a USF women's basketball strength of schedule out there, because UConn, South Carolina, it's man, and so it's tough. So they didn't face those kind of opponents. The only similar opponent we had was Houston Christian. Houston Christian lost to Rice 62-42, and then Houston Christian lost to us, USF, 91-58. So we both beat the crap out of them, but only so much you can make of that either too. Right. It's like, okay, great. So not much of a difference either. It's one thing if they beat them by 5 and we didn't beat them by like 15 or 20, but
they were both,
I think, but I am optimistic. I think this is going to be a nice American Conference matchup, just because I really don't see any major threat from any of those players on Rice. It's just going to come down to how do we play on defense, cleaning up on the mistakes, dominating in the paint and on the outside. I think we do have the skill set there, so should be a good one though. I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's going to be an exciting little conference schedule for the women's basketball team, for both basketball teams. That's what they've got. They've got the little American Conference matchups leading up to the tournament, and then hopefully a Final Four berth. Jonathan, you're our resident, college basketball player. You obviously played. It was a D2 school, D3.
D3. Not good enough for D2.
Oh, D3. Oh, I'm sorry. But you've lived this, so can you maybe speak to the build up to conference play, since obviously both of the basketball teams are going through it right now? Like what goes into that, and what's going through their minds and all that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, because every school is different. The D3 school I went to actually played the national championship a few years before I got there, so a very storied program. But when we got there, I wouldn't say you'd have to be almost perfect. So a good comp would be like the A10 in men's basketball. It's like you can get in that large bid, but you better like really take care of business in the non-conference. You need to go like 16-2 in conference. It was kind of like that. It was mid-major, but not quite, like lower mid-major, or kind of in the higher mid-major tiers. But conference play is everything, because that determines your season. It's great what you do in non-conference play, but frankly, it doesn't matter by the time it gets to conference play. Conference play is everything, and you have rivals within conference play. So we would have the games that were circled. Obviously, in the prep is a little bit different. The scout's a little bit different. Just the feel of it is a little bit different, because because this is the season. This is the conference play is where it all lies, because you're only playing these guys for the rest of the season. And if you're lucky enough to make the tournament, obviously until then, I don't know. I think it's 18 conference games or something. I think we played 16. I think in D1 they play 18. But yeah, I mean, think about it. That's your life for the next almost 3 months.
Right.
Is the conference game. So there is a heightened losing a conference game is almost like losing 2 non-conference games. It's just kind of the equivalent. So the preparation is different. The feel is different. The games honestly feel different. It's a little bit more physical because the team, you're more familiar with the team. So yeah, that was my experience kind of playing in them, and I'm sure it's that way in some kind of way at every single school.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And it's huge. Like you said, it's what their whole season is for. And I love the comparison of the two non-conference being the equivalent of one conference game. Like that's big. And I would hope and I would like to think that on the inverse, a win is like two
Yeah,
non-conference wins.
yeah.
So that's kind of me trying to put the positive spin on it because yeah, that
No, you're
loss
right. No, you're right. Yeah,
it'll kill you. The
yeah,
the loss will kill you, but hopefully the win, it'll uplift them, and hopefully the women's team starts off with on the right foot, and they're able to take care of business against Rice because that would be great. It'd be really nice if we were talking next week and we're talking about a USF women's basketball win against Rice. Hopefully they don't play with their food too much.
yeah. Can't be
Losing the food, like Jonathan always says, it's not great. But in this case, it'd be a little bit more understandable than I think in football. But before we go, we did have a couple last segments, and Mr. Tariq, I wanted you to take the floor on this because men's soccer and women's soccer, they had some interesting stuff. I wanted to give you the floor because you're kind of our official USF soccer representative. So what you got for us this past week?
Yeah, man. Just some kind of recruiting going on. I guess some I guess bigger signings. But long story short, I'll tell you this, guys. Not Gary Kyle, George Kiefer is bringing his crew along from Grand Canyon University. First off, Charles Volsey. He was on the all WAC tournament team this past year. Has an international experience with the Canadian youth squad as well. And another signing before George Kiefer and Charles Volsey was also Micah Harris, who played for the Houston Dynamo Academy. So not just your high school player. He's been part of that pro club environment. So he's getting that real game experience, and hopefully it should get him ready for that college soccer. But I also wanted to say that I wasn't aware, but George Kiefer's bringing some other Grand Canyon University players along, including his two sons. So it should be entertaining, and it makes me think that he's coming back because first of all they want to elevate this program, and I also want to say that he's bringing a lot of talent from Grand Canyon University. I don't think this is not something. I mean, it's like 3 hours, like time zone difference and stuff like that. I mean, this is a big move, if you're looking at a player perspective as well. So there's still some signings going on. I'm sure, we'll have some more next week or, whenever we discuss it again. But I have to say, though, is, like you mentioned earlier, Carter, in the beginning of the podcast, USF athletics is just overall, I think, getting bigger and bigger. These kind of things didn't matter much. I mean, USF's, had a pretty, good soccer program, but overall, this is the first year we're having our own USF Athletics CEO, for example. So we're up in the game, and thanks to NIL, I guess that helps a little bit.
Yeah,
makes me wonder how much NIL, mumbo jumbo is going on in the college soccer world compared to college football or college basketball. But yeah, man, should be good. And I know Tampa has always been a very international friendly kind of city, or USF's been very international friendly. So I'm looking forward to seeing if we get any kind of spicy signings from like Brazil or Spain or something like that. Some hidden gem, from from a town and Argentina or something. The next USF Messi or something. But we'll see, man.
Hey, let's see it. No, absolutely, yeah, and we'll keep talking about the recruiting prospects of the soccer teams as well as the other athletics programs as the year goes along, because we're entering the new year, and we'll be talking about some baseball stuff soon too. But obviously the basketball season's really kicking into gear, so that'll kind of be our focus moving forward, as well as we'll talk about some of the recruits that the USF football team has already had either signed or committed and whatnot. We'll probably talk about that a good bit next week. But we're nearing the end of our episode. Really appreciate y'all for tuning in. Definitely give us that like and subscribe if you like what you heard. If you want to keep up to date with the USF Athletics Department, we're the show to listen to. Thank you to my two wonderful co-hosts, Mr. Jonathan Shields and Mr. Musab Tariq, for making my job incredibly easy. Really appreciate y'all for tuning in. And until next time, but as always, go Bulls.
Go Bulls.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.